Good afternoon. My name is Natalie Fanny Gonzalez. Welcome to the afternoon session. For this county council, we have two proclamations today. The first one is very exciting. It's a proclamation recognizing Middle Eastern American Heritage Month by the council president, myself, and our county executive. If you're here for that proclamation, please come forward and with Mr. County Executive Mark Elrich. You all can come this way. Thank you. And what about you? You can take the photo. Okay, fine. Okay, again, good afternoon, everyone. It is great to join you all today. Thank you to the County Executive, Mark Elrich, Arwa Abdi with the Middle Eastern American Advisory Group, and the Office of Community Partnerships for bringing us all together today. Let me also thank all of our guests for being here today, and our many partners organizations for your continued service and support to the Middle Eastern community and the community at large. Middle Eastern Americans have been an integral part of the fabric of this nation since before its founding. Honoring and recognizing this long and important history is why we're gathered here today. This is not a normal year to recognize what Middle Eastern Americans have brought here to Montgomery County. Several countries in the region are at war, and many people here are still trying to process what's happening over there. And it's a strain, and the strain is real. This is a difficult moment, and we want our neighbors to know that we see them, we care about what they're going through, and we hope for a peaceful resolution. Part of what it means to be a Middle Eastern American is recognizing the connection our community in the United States has with the Middle East. My grandmother was from Lebanon, so this is a personal connection to me. In Montgomery County, that Middle Eastern community is a vibrant and diverse mosaic of cultures, languages, and traditions that make our county one of the best places in the world to call home. Middle Eastern American Heritage Month offers us an opportunity to recognize the contributions that strengthen our economy, civic, and cultural life. As part of that, I would like to recognize the Middle Eastern American Advisory Group's important work to uplift the needs and concerns of the Middle Eastern community. Your advocacy allows us as local leaders to ensure that inclusion, equity, and cultural competency are at the heart of our decisions and actions. Celebrations like this are a reminder that our inclusive community is a stronger community. So I'm honored to be here today to celebrate the endless contributions for a wonderful Middle Eastern American community, and happy Middle Eastern American Heritage Month. With that, I'm going to ask our county executive to also share a few words before we read the proclamation.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. And Ramadan Mubarak. I share Natalie's thoughts about the setting for all this, because obviously what's going on in the Middle East today is a tragedy, and it's going to have a high price in human life. It was not started by combatants over there. This thing was started by the United States, and there is no way we were under threat from anybody. Nobody was threatening to attack the United States. And it's just sad to see so many people plunged into this level of destruction, and the loss of 150 girls in a school is just tragic, and it's hard to picture how this continues to go on. And I understand that weighs heavily on many people in the Muslim community. I just want to acknowledge that we welcome the community here. We feel like you are major contributors to the quality of life in Montgomery County. You play a meaningful role here. You've been here for a long time. As Natalie correctly pointed out, you actually predate the creation of the United States in terms of presence in the New World. And the contributions here go back a very long time. If you look around Montgomery County, you see people in businesses, you see people in the schools teaching, they're in the universities, they're doctors, lawyers, they're scientists, there are people who were affected by the cuts in NIH, there are people who contribute so much to life in Montgomery County. We just want to acknowledge how important that is and how much we value it. We want to assure people that we will do everything we can, and our police are aware of the need to provide, additional awareness to security needs in these very difficult and tense moments. So, but this county is going to continue to do what we can do to make sure that this community stays safe. We want to affirm, that our policies also are aimed to protect people. We just passed the Trust Act. The county is going to protect people against, as best we can, against deportation, and the county is not cooperating with ICE, will not cooperate with ICE, and is not going to be part of ICE activities. So if you're here, regardless of your immigration status, we are not your enemy, and we are not here to participate in ICE activities. We want to make sure that everybody who's come here for the same reason that our grandparents came here, to start new lives and to look for new opportunities, have the same opportunities that we had and that our grandparents had. So again, thank you all very much for everything you do in this county. Thank you for the work you did during COVID to help us with food drives, with clothing drives, with getting supplies out to families that needed supplies, with helping us with testing and with helping us with vaccination. You played a role in one of the most important, I'd say, difficult and challenging times in the history of Montgomery County. And you were there standing side by side with everybody else doing that. And your clinics in Montgomery County serve majority non-Muslim populations in Montgomery County, because your concern is how do we improve the health of the community, and the community, by your definition, is everybody in the community, not some people in the community. So again, thank you for everything you do. I look forward to, I think I've got 2 or 3 more dinners, iftars ahead. I've been to several iftars. You've made this more difficult by moving forward a year, because they also line up with Chinese Lunar New Year meals, which means sometimes we have to go out and do 2 things for dinner. But it's always fun, and your work and your partnership is really appreciated. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Read the proclamation. Do you want to introduce yourself before we read the proclamation?
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone, and Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan Mubarak. My name is Dr. Ahmed, and I am one of the people who love to live in this diverse community. And I thank the council and for everything that they are doing. And as both of them, they have said that it's a community. We are here to help each other celebrate all the successes that we have here. And I thank you so much for everything here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do you guys want to introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan Kareem for everyone. Thank you for our local leadership in Montgomery County for this honorable recognition. And without good leadership, we cannot really accomplish much. So it goes both ways. We get engaged, we support, and they are here to back us and to honor us and to appreciate what we have to offer. So I encourage every one of you to stay engaged and represent yourself. No one's going to knock on your door and come to go offer you anything if you don't go and seek it yourself.
Great
Thank you.
advice. Thank you so much. Right to the point. Do you guys want to introduce yourself? Yeah.
Oh, you want? Okay. Yes, my name is Zafar Mirza. I represent my community center. I don't know how many of you know. It is Muslim Community Center. And we have been involved with the county for a long time. And county has helped us tremendously over a period of time. We were the first in the country, or second in the country, to have start a clinic at our Muslim Community Center. And obviously, the county has helped us tremendously over a period of time in all the programs, because we have got the other services at the Muslim Community Center for everybody. We are the most diversified county in the country, for that matter, because for us, the most important thing is the service to the people. And that's what we have been providing. So we are very thankful to county. Thank you very much all.
Thank you so much. Thank you for highlighting the center. Of course.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I'll just offer a comment, couple of remarks on behalf of the Middle Eastern Advisory Group. So really on behalf of the Middle Eastern American community in Montgomery County, I want to sincerely thank the President of the Executive Council members. We really appreciate that. And MEAG, the Middle Eastern American Advisory Group, was established in 2008 by the Montgomery County Office of Community Partnership to better connect the county's linguistically and culturally diverse Middle Eastern American community with the local government and encourage civic, cultural, and economic engagement. MEAG provides advice to Montgomery County leadership, organize community events and workshops, and promotes inclusion and cultural awareness. Signature initiative includes the annual Middle Eastern American Heritage Month celebration, cultural program, and resource fairs that highlights the contribution of the Middle Eastern American in education, public service, arts, business, and community life. Through its advocacy and engagement work, MEAG strengthens community ties and ensures the Middle Eastern American voices are heard and celebrated in Montgomery County. Middle Eastern American Heritage Month is an important opportunity to recognize the rich contribution of our community to the social, cultural, and economic life of Montgomery County. We are excited to celebrate Middle Eastern American Heritage Month with the community on March 22nd from 3 to 5 p.m. This celebration highlights our cultural traditions and the vibrant role our community plays in the county. This proclamation and the celebration remind us of the importance of inclusion, understanding, and building bridges across communities. We are proud to be a part of Montgomery County vibrant tapestry and look forward to continuing to contribute to its growth, unity, and prosperity. And thank you very much.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you for your time. Last but not least, can't say no to you.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Gilberto Zelaya, a nonpartisan representative of the Montgomery County Board of Elections and also Executive Vice President of McGeo Local 1994. We embrace the proclamation today, but also we want to welcome all communities to start making a vote plan. The 2026 gubernatorial primary election is Tuesday, June 23rd. Early voting will be from June 11th through the 18th. And to start, before you can start formulating a vote plan, you need to be a registered voter, which means you need to be at least 16 years of age, a U.S. citizen, and live in the state of Maryland. All you need to do is text the word vote to 77788. And if you have a desire to vote by mail, text the letters VBM to 77788 so you can start formulating a vote plan. Thank you.
Thank you. If you did not see that one coming, me neither. But how do you put this thing? Okay, there you go. Oh my goodness. Okay, now we're gonna read the proclamation, and yes, as you said, let's get ready to vote. I heard there's election. So I'm gonna ask the county executive to please join me. So the County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland proclamation. Whereas Montgomery County is a welcoming community that is strengthened by the richness of skills, values, and knowledge within its multicultural community, and
Whereas Middle Eastern American Heritage Month is observed throughout the United States in March, and
whereas for generations, Middle Eastern Americans have made valuable contributions to virtually every aspect of American society, including medicine, law, business, technology, government, arts, and culture, and
whereas since migrating to the United States, men and women of the Middle East descent have shared their rich culture and traditions with their neighbors and friends.
And whereas they brought with them their resilient family values, a strong work ethic, dedication to education, and diversity of faith and belief that has enriched our nation, and
Whereas the Middle Eastern American community joins with all residents who desire a peaceful, inclusive, and diverse society where every individual is treated with dignity and respect.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that the County Executive, Mark Elrich, and the entire County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland, hereby proclaim March as Middle Eastern American Heritage Month in Montgomery County and encourage all residents to join us in recognizing the contributions of the Middle Eastern American community and to participate in the celebrations presented on this day, 3rd day of March in the year of 2026 by Mark Elrich, County Executive, and Council President Natalie Fanny Gonzalez. Thank you so much for coming. Let's take a photo. The second proclamation, because we're not done yet, is a proclamation for National Consumer Protection Month. If everybody coming for this proclamation, please move forward. The National Consumer Protection Week, observed March 1st to the 7th, is a nationwide effort to educate consumers about their rights and help them avoid fraud and deceptive practices. In recognition of that initiative, Montgomery County is designating the entire month of March as Consumer Protection Month. This county-specific proclamation expands awareness and outreach efforts beyond a single week and reinforces our local commitment to consumer protection. This designation provides additional time and visibility to ensure residents are aware of available resources and know where to turn for assistance, guidance, and information. Consumers are the foundation of Montgomery County's local economy. Their confidence in the marketplace is essential to a strong and thriving community. When residents feel informed and protected, they're better equipped to make confident decisions. For more than 54 years, the Office of Consumer Protection has served as a trusted county resource. OCP, that's how they're known, investigates and resolves consumer complaints, licenses and registers businesses, enforces consumer protection laws, and provides education and outreach to empower residents. Each year, OCP resolves thousands of consumer complaints and works to achieve fair outcomes for residents. As scams become more sophisticated and the marketplace continues to evolve, OCP remains focused on prevention, education, and fairness. With that, I'm going to turn it to the County Executive.
So this is one of my favorite departments. They're small, but they're powerful, and they make a meaningful difference in people's lives. National Consumer Protection Week, March 1st to the 7th, promotes consumer education and fraud prevention and prevention of scams. In Montgomery County, we're building on that effort by designating the entire month of March as Consumer Protection Month. And this is a local commitment to staying ahead of fraud, scams, and unfair practices. Why this work matters is that consumer protection is one of our core functions here. Not all jurisdictions do this. When someone is misled, scammed, or treated unfairly, the consequences are real. I've been to meetings where we talk about particularly fraud being perpetrated on seniors who are often very vulnerable. They can be very easy targets. I've had friends whose families been victimized by it, and I can really see how important this is to people, the work that we do. It takes our informed residents in order to give them the ability to identify fraud and scams when they see them. They need to be able to identify who the bad actors are. And with the kind of education that we can provide, we can help people do that. For more than 5 decades, the Office of Consumer Protection has worked to enforce the law and resolve consumer complaints. Most recently, we've added rental issues to their agenda. Thank you very much. As scams evolve and the marketplace changes, residents continue to turn to OCP to help navigate their difficulties, business licensing issues and registration, and guidance for their consumer rights. Looking ahead, we're recognizing March as Consumer Protection Month. It reinforces our long-term commitment to fairness and accountability in the marketplace. I encourage residents who have a concern to reach out to their department, and together we can ensure that Montgomery County remains a place where consumers are safe and businesses can thrive, and all of us are better off. Thank you.
So, do you want to speak? Okay, so we have one person from the team, and we have an amazing team here. I think like most of your department feels like he's here. Okay, you have somebody in the office, right? Okay, if you can come and share a few words before we read the proclamation. Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you to the council president, county executive, and the council members for recognizing March as Consumer Protection Month. Scammers are working overtime. The New York Times reported that more than 16 billion consumers have been scammed in just 1 year. The marketplace and technology is always changing. Montgomery County established a consumer protection office 54 years ago. The goal of our expert staff and investigators is to ensure integrity in our marketplace for consumers and businesses. Detect and prevent. The proclamation reinforces our ability to work together and maintain a quality of life for more than 1 million residents in Montgomery County. While this month brings additional attention to consumer protection, our work continues year-round. Thank you for the opportunity to ensure that all residents and merchants know where to turn for help. And please don't forget to check out our amazing podcast for listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A round of applause. Okay. So I'm going to read the proclamation with the county executive. It says, the County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland proclamation, whereas consumers play a vital role in the economic strength and stability of our county, and their confidence in the marketplace is essential to a thriving community. And
whereas residents rely on fair, honest, and transparent business practices when purchasing goods and services, entering contracts, and making important financial decisions. And
whereas consumer protection laws and programs exist to safeguard residents from fraud, deception, unfair business practice, and other forms of consumer harm. And
whereas in an increasingly digital marketplace, residents face evolving risks such as online scams, identity theft, and deceptive practices that require vigilance and education.
And whereas the Office of Consumer Protection works to educate the public, investigate complaints, enforce consumer protection laws, and promote ethical business practices throughout the county. And
whereas consumer education empowers residents to make informed choices, recognize potential scams, understand their rights, and avoid financial exploitation. And whereas raising awareness about consumer protection resources strengthens our community, supports responsible businesses, and helps prevent economic harm to individuals and families.
now, therefore, be it resolved that the County Executive Mark Erich and the entire County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland, hereby proclaims March as Consumer Protection Month in Montgomery County and urge all residents, businesses, and community partners to actively participate in educational activities, share resources, and collaborate to promote fair, safe, and informed consumer practices. Presented on this day, 3rd day of March in the year of 2026, by County Executive Mark Erich and County Council President Natalie Fanny Gonzalez and the entire County Council. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, everyone. We're going to continue in our session, and we are going to proceed with agenda item 6. It's a public hearing on zoning text amendment 26-02, overlay zones regional shopping center. The ZTA will exempt the gross floor area residential cap on household living in certain zones and generally amend the use and standards for the regional shopping center overlay zone. A Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee work session is scheduled for March 9, 2026. Those wishing to submit material for the Council's consideration should do so by the close of business day. As a reminder, for our public hearing testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you are testifying and are appropriate for a public meeting. You will hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate everyone abiding by their allotted time. So we have a couple of speakers. I'm going to ask them to please move forward. We have Mr. Robert Cronenberg and Patricia Harris. She's virtual, I think. Is she on?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to start with Mr. Cronenberg. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. For the record, Robert Cronenberg with the Planning Department. I am here representing Chair Harris and the Montgomery County Planning Board, who met on February 19th, 2026, and voted 5-0 to recommend support of ZTA 2602 with amendments and transmit a climate assessment. The ZTA exempts certain household living uses within a regional shopping center overlay zone from the 30% area limit on household living uses found in the underlying zone if a regional shopping center of at least 600,000 square feet in size is maintained. The Planning Board is supportive of the ZTA, providing residential development opportunities within the county's 2 RSC overlay zone areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Patricia Harris, virtual.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Council President Fanny Gonzalez and members of the Council. I'm Pat Harris with Lord Turley and Brewer here on behalf of URW, formerly Westfield Development, the owners of both Montgomery Mall and Westfield Mall, the only 2 regional shopping centers in the county, and thus the only 2 properties that are subject to this pending ZTA. I'm here this afternoon to register our support for the zoning text amendment and encourage your support of this minor piece of legislation. In April 2025, the Council adopted ZTA 25-03, which was the commercial to residential reconstruction amendment, which, among other things, eliminated the provision that capped residential development to 30% of the total development in the employment zones, which included the 2 GR zones, which the malls are zoned, and those sites are also subject to the regional shopping center overlay zone. Fast forward 8 months later, and zoning text amendment 2513, which was the omnibus corrective ZTA, it reinstated that 30% cap on residential uses in employment zones, primarily to respond to concerns that without the cap, neighborhood retail would be eliminated and overtaken with projects that were exclusively residential. And an inadvertent consequence of this was that it also reinstated that cap for the regional shopping center overlay zones. Given that by definition, a regional shopping center must provide at least 600,000 square feet of retail development with at least 50 stores, there will always be a very healthy balance of retail and housing at Montgomery Mall and potentially Wheaton Mall in connection with the redevelopment of those sites to mixed-use communities. The concern that prompted the reinstatement of the cap on housing simply will not materialize in these zones given the amount of retail that they must provide in order to continue to be a regional shopping center. The development of a significant residential component at Montgomery Mall and Wheaton Mall will help ensure the long-term viability of these significant retail assets, and the amount of housing permitted should not be artificially limited by this zoning text, by the prior legislation. We therefore encourage your support of this zoning text amendment. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for your time. And this public hearing is now closed. Thank you, Mr. Cronenberg. Moving on to agenda item 7 is a public hearing on the zoning text amendment 26-03, biohealth priority campus and eligibility. The ZTA will amend the definition of biohealth priority campus and generally amend the requirements for biohealth priority campus. A Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee work session is scheduled for March 9, 2026. Those wishing to submit material for the Council's consideration should do so by the close of business today. As a reminder of our public hearings testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you are testifying and are appropriate for a public hearing. You'll hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate everyone abiding by their allotted time. All registered speakers for this item have already given their testimony during the previous item today. Is there anything else that you wanted to add? No? Great. This public hearing is now closed, but thank you for staying in your seat. Moving on. Agenda item 8 is a public hearing on zoning text amendment 26-04. Mixed income housing community eligibility. This ZTA will amend the definition of a mixed income housing community and generally amend the requirements for a mixed income housing community. A Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee work session is scheduled for March 9, 2026. Those wishing to submit material for the Council's consideration should do so by the close of business today. All registered speakers for this item have already given their testimony during the previous item today. This public hearing is now closed. Now the exciting part. So agenda item 9 is a public hearing on Bill 3-26, Administration Immigration Enforcement Guidance Required, the County Values Act. This bill will require the county executive to develop and publish certain guidance related to immigration enforcement action at county facilities, require county departments to adopt certain policies consistent with executive guidance, limit access to certain areas for immigration enforcement subject to certain conditions, and generally amend the laws regarding county administration and immigration enforcement in the county. A joint Public Safety and Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee work session is scheduled for March 11, 2026. Those wishing to submit material for the Council's considerations should do so by the close of business on March 4, 2026. As a reminder of our public hearing testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you are testifying and are appropriate for a public meeting. You will hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate everyone abiding by their allotted time. I will say that there are few folks who registered for this public hearing and the next one, which is, I want to get the number right. It's Bill 5-26. People who register for both, they will be allowed to speak for 5 minutes. If you're only registered for this one, you only will have 3 minutes. Please do not clap, do not boo to anybody who's speaking here. Do not, because it's rude and it's just not productive for anybody. So I know there's, and I'm being nice today, I know there's somebody who, maybe I shouldn't have said it, but Alison Ickerson, I got you. That's all I'm gonna say. But I'll name you later on today. I'm gonna allow her to speak. So I'm gonna start with the first panel, and it's Stephanie Wolf, Ignor Kaur, Milo Olivares Cano, Mark Briseño. If you're here, if you're listening to your name, please stand up and come forward. Should I say those names again? No. Oh, those are you guys, right? Okay, so please come forward. Nicole Eisern. So we're going to start with those. So Stephanie Wolf, you have 3 minutes. Who's Stephanie? Okay, can you please kick us off? Thank you so much. And please state your name right on top and turn on your mic. There you go. And if you can turn off yours, can you turn off your mic? It's off. Yeah, off.
Yeah.
There you go. Now you go, Stephanie. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the Council, my name is Stephanie Wolf. I'm the Director of Immigration Services at the Office of the Public Defender. We respectfully request a favorable report on Bill 326 with one minor clarifying amendment. This bill is an admirable effort to take all available steps to ensure that county resources are not used to further the agenda of mass deportation. and thereby to ensure that our residents can feel safe to engage with the county services that they need and that make the community stronger. Montgomery County has been a leader in ensuring that residents are supported in the ways that allow communities to thrive. As a public defender, I work around the state, and I have seen firsthand the ways that your leadership pays off. The accessibility of resources here can improve outcomes for our clients, for their families, and also in a very tangible way for the community as a whole. The opposite is also true. When access is curtailed, the outcomes for individuals and the community get worse. Take a victim of domestic violence whose abusive partner was pending trial for slashing her face with a weapon, but who, like many survivors, had also been accused of violence by her abuser. She was facing charges herself, but she was so afraid of engaging with any institutions for fear of immigration enforcement that she was afraid to even provide her phone number. She was afraid to appear in court, whether as a victim or as a defendant, and she certainly was not going to engage with any of the services available to her as a survivor. This is a situation in which many beneficial interventions were possible and were available here in Montgomery County, but as the result of her understandable terror, she is now facing arrest on a bench warrant. The case against her abusive partner will likely be dismissed when she fails to appear as a witness, and a family and their community are less healthy and less safe. The county has a strong interest in avoiding outcomes like this one. We want and need people to access county services. In fact, many of these services are so important that when people need them and can't access them, they end up facing criminal charges or involved with DSS. Behavioral health services, substance abuse treatment, supports around housing and employment. These help struggling people do better, and they can address the root causes of many of the cases across the street in the district and circuit courts. Support for caregivers of young children and the elderly helps families stay healthy and stay together and avoids the need for more forceful interventions by social services. And all of this benefits all of us. This bill draws a clear and public line that the county institutions that provide or steer people to these services will remain as safe as legally possible for all county residents. And for those reasons, OPD supports this bill. We would request one minor clarifying amendment to section 2-164G to clarify that the threat of disciplinary action only applies to the type of misuse.
And I know you sent your testimony already in writing.
On the other bill.
Yeah, perfect. We're going to move forward with Ikur Kaur. Is that you? And you have 5 minutes because you signed up for both bills. So when I said both bills, I meant the Bill 5-26, Police Masks and Facial Coverings Prohibited, the Unmasked ICE Act. So go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Iknur Kaur, and I'm a member of the Students for Asylum and Immigration Reform, FAIR, chapter at James Hubert Blake High School. I'm here to share with you all my favorable stance on the Unmasked ICE Act as well as the County Values Act. Our Students Fair chapter is a small and fairly new community at Blake High School, only being founded this school year. But our impact on our community has been tremendous. From hosting Know Your Rights workshops to leading our own protests here on our school grounds, our community has advocated for what we want on our school campus. We want protection for our community, and we want it now. We want clarity, transparency, and accountability when it comes to ICE enforcement that deals with our community. At Blake High School, we've had 2 students and their families who have been directly affected by ICE enforcement. The local governments should be able to foster trust and a sense of community to its constituents, especially students, not fear and terror. One of the students at Blake, who was personally affected by ICE, could not fight for their right to an education, could not fight for their right to stay with their community, could not fight for their right to a free land. They instead were forced to escape with their family and return to their home country out of fear of the ICE enforcement that tormented their lives. No student should ever have to leave their education behind because they do not feel safe in their community, ever. This is a matter that has deeply distressed the Blake community. At our walkout, along with their peers, the student body, the staff, and even our principal came to show their solidarity towards the families affected. Not only can this be seen in the Blake community, but across countless schools in Montgomery County. On Wednesday, February 18th, we held our peaceful protest and were supported by other schools such as Paint Branch, Springbrook, Sherwood, and Einstein, and more, who showed out by voicing their concerns for their peers and those affected in our community. Literal children who have been dropping out of school, unfortunately, is not uncommon news in our school county. I've heard numerous stories of students across MCPS who have left their education behind to take care of their families in fear that they will be snatched by ICE enforcement. Can you imagine a child dropping out of school because they don't feel safe? I can't, but it surely is happening in front of our own eyes. At Blake, we have so many students who come from across the globe, who have escaped war, who have come here to strengthen their education and to make something of their futures. To imagine that, yes, our children are dropping out instead of bettering their lives is devastating. These students aren't illegal monsters that should be kept outside of school, out of the safety of their own lives. They are children, they are students, and they deserve just as much safety, security, and resources in a school environment as their peers receive. I truly urge you all to support these bills to ensure that ICE enforcement adequately identifies itself so that our students, peers, friends, and communities feel safer and have a sense of security when going about their day-to-day lives. I urge you all to say yes to these bills to ensure that our local government is catering to the needs of our beautifully diverse community and not to fostering an unsafe environment for our locals. Let's protect our children, let's educate our children, and let's raise our children without this fear that they don't belong, because they do. The only thing that is poisoning our country is ICE enforcement that linger on the streets, waiting to harass our communities. Let's face it, Montgomery County relies on immigrants and our multicultural communities. This is where our strength comes from. Let's protect our community because this is our family. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Milo Olivares Caño, and you have 5 minutes, okay? Turn on the mic. There you go.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Milo Olivares Cano. I am a senior at James Hubert Blake High School. I am here to strongly support the Unmask ICE Act and the County Values Act. I am proud to come from 2 immigrant parents. I've constantly had the fear of family separation since my childhood. I've seen the sacrifices they made, how hard they work, and the struggles that came with that, but they always put our family first. They came here for a better opportunity, for safety, and for a better future for me. My parents mean everything to me. They never stopped showing up for me for my sports events and never stopped supporting me. My parents aren't illegal aliens. They are human beings. The thought of losing them or having something happen to them while they are at work scares me. I never want to experience that as the oldest and having to take care of my younger siblings. I am the president of the Students for Asylum and Immigration Reform chapter at James Hubert Blake High School. At Blake, 2 families in our own community have been impacted by ICE. One of those families was forced to self-deport. These are our classmates, our neighbors, and our friends. As president, I started a walkout at Blake that was a joint effort with Springbrook, Paint Branch, and Sherwood. We are doing this for our community and our peers who are being affected by ICE. We showed out because we want to limit the ICE enforcement that has access to our community. Fear changes how families and people live. It makes parents, students, teens, and children afraid of walking outside. It makes our community feel watched instead of being protected. That is not normal. Everyone should be comfortable and feel safe living in their own daily lives without being scared. The Unmasked ICE Act is about accountability. It involves U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which enforces immigration laws. For many families, immigration enforcement is a personal attack to their well-being because they came here to build a better life. With this act, families will feel safer because ICE will be no longer hidden. The County Values Act matters because schools, healthcare centers, and county programs should be safe spaces and should not feel like risks. Our local resources should be used to support families. Our local government should work for our community and not with ICE. It builds trust between communities and local government so families will feel protected and will grow stronger together. I am standing here today because I want Montgomery County to reflect those same values. I want my family and families like mine to feel safe, respected, and seen. I urge you to pass the Unmasked ICE Act and the County Values Act, not just as a policy, but as a statement about who we are together as a community. Let's protect our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Milo. So next we have Mark Briseño, and you also have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Anthony Briseño. The last time I sat here, I shared what happened when my father was taken by ICE. Today, I want you to understand who my father really is, because too often, people like him are reduced to a label instead of seen as human beings. My father has lived in this country for decades. He came in here with almost nothing, but he built everything from scratch. He started a small repair business and spent years building trust with families across Maryland. He fixed people's homes, their appliances, their plumbing, but more than that, he built relationships. His clients knew his name. They call him not just because he does good work, but because he is honest. At home, he is the kind of dad who never missed my school events. He would show up to my parent-teacher conferences, even after working long shifts. He planned dinners for my mom and me, and he always made sure we were okay before he ever thought of himself. He is not a threat to this country. He is a father, a husband, a hard-working man who has contributed to his community and raised a son who is about to graduate high school. After being detained, and now he has been ordered deported. After being detained, after sleeping on the cold floors, after being pressured to sign papers, a judge ordered him removed from the only home I've ever known him to have. I am 17 years old, and I am facing the possibility that my father may be forced out of my life. Not because he committed a violent crime, not because he harmed anyone, but because our immigration system failed someone who tried to do everything right with very little guidance or resources. When he was taken, the officers were masked. I will never forget that. Grown men covering their faces while taking someone else's father away. This is why the Values Act matters. County spaces should never feel like traps. Libraries, recreation centers, and community buildings should be places families walk into with confidence, not fear. The Values Act makes sure that if immigration enforcement happens in our county spaces, it must follow a proper legal process. It requires real judicial warrants, and it gives county workers clear guidance. It protects families from unnecessary trauma. And the Unmasked ICE Act matters because accountability matters. If someone is going to change the course of another family's life, they should not be able to hide their identity while doing it. Masks create fear. They make children feel like something criminal is happening when all that is happening is a father being torn from his family. These bills will not reverse my father's deportation order, but they can prevent other families from living through this nightmare. They can prevent other 17-year-olds from suddenly becoming the emotional support for their mothers. They can prevent other kids from wondering every morning if today is the day their family falls apart. I should be worried about prom, graduation, and college. Instead, I am worried about whether my father will be forced onto a plane and sent away from everything he built here. Please pack the Values Act and the Unmasked ICE Act. Not because this is political, not because this is personal, but because families like mine deserve dignity. because children deserve stability, and because no one should have to say goodbye to their parent this way. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Nicole Eisern.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Nicole Izern. I'm a Peruvian immigrant and have lived in Montgomery County for 23 years now. I live in Bethesda now in Mr. Friedson's district, and I work in Silver Spring in Ms. Stewart's district. I'm here in favor of both the County Values Act and the Unmasked ICE Act. I'd especially like to be heard by council members Fanny Gonzalez, Lutke, and Katz, who have not co-sponsored either act, as well as council members Friedson and Belcombe, who have not co-sponsored the Unmasked ICE Act. I wonder why each of you chose to become a council member. Was it to promise a better life? Was it to advocate and protect your constituents? Right now, my life is in chaos. Not to mention the suffering that our at-risk families and children across the county are enduring every day. Don't you think that we should be demanding immigration agents to uphold constitutional law? I am no expert, but pretty sure all members of society are required to follow the Constitution, no exceptions. By not banning face masks on ICE agents, you are condoning and permitting them to continue to violate our county residents, create their own rules, treat peaceful residents inhumanely, and reinforce this diabolical confidence they have to act aggressively. What makes you think that the next Renee Nicole Good or Alex Preddy won't be in your district? Equally dangerous, by not pushing through the County Values Act, you're neglecting the need of policy to uphold our rights, to not be randomly abducted without a warrant, to state our values at the door and show that county buildings and lots are not the location for their horrid actions or staging. Are we playing politics? You all signed the Trust Act. The bare minimum that you can do is not delay this bill and vote to demand that the federal government uphold our constitutional rights. It is undeniable that the current administration and his federal agents are constantly acting unpredictably and unconstitutionally. The absence of a law that covers all areas will alienate our residents from county programs and resources meant to serve them. This isn't politics to me. This is my life. This is the life of my students. This is the life of their parents, the life of my colleagues, my friends, and my neighbors. This is personal. Our students are crying themselves to sleep for weeks as their parents are held in detention for existing. I'm not informed on most cases occurring, but can tell you, Ms. Fanny Gonzalez, that for nearly 4 months, a 19-year-old kid in your district has been the sole caregiver for his siblings, aged 14, 8, and 3. Mr. Katz, on your end of the county, there's a 5-year-old who has verbalized suicidal ideation if his mother does not return home. Why are we playing games when lives are at stake? I knew how hateful many were in other parts of the country towards people of color. I've stated many times how I'm grateful to live in a Democratic county that celebrates diversity. But now that hate has invaded our neighborhoods, our schools, our community areas, I refuse to stay quiet while our 11-year-olds are questioning their father's morality because some unlawful agents decided to abduct them and throw them in a cage. These heartless ICE agents who pass as Americans are shackling our friends because of the color of their skin and where they were born, not because there's a judicial warrant for their arrest. There is still time to change your mind. I hope these testimonies help you realize the urgency and necessity of these acts, and you immediately support and protect your constituents without delay. Why haven't you scheduled the committee session for the Unmasked ICE Act yet? Because yes, there are scared immigrants in every single one of your districts and infuriated allies in every corner of this county right alongside of them. I'm doing my part. I would like for you guys to please vote this through. Thank you, council members.
Thank you. Next, we're gonna call the next group is Rebecca Cole, Jack Stelzner, Shamus Roeder, Patrick Crump, Gabriela Rivera, Lady Garcia, Alexa Fraser. And we're gonna start with Miss Rebecca Cole. Is that you? Can you please kick us off? You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Rebecca Cole. I'm a resident of Randolph Hills in the County District 6, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Gaithersburg Beloved Community Initiative, which I will refer to as GBCI. GBCI is a proud member of Action in Montgomery. As a resident, a parent, and community leader, I strongly urge you council members to pass the County Values Act and the Unmasked ICE Act. Both bills impact the GBCI community directly. At GBCI, we nurture life-changing relationships and supportive connections between seniors and the youth and families in Gaithersburg and Montgomery Village. After 15 years, our intergenerational programs have engaged over 1,400 older adults and served over 2,500 youth and families, about 95% of whom are immigrants themselves or children of immigrant parents. Right now, our community is living in deep fear of ICE enforcement and the realities of the federal government terrorizing communities through racial profiling, lawless action, and violence. The GBCI after-school mentoring programs and adult English class are supported by county funds. This school year, we have seen a significant decrease in attendance and participation across all programs. The fear causes youth, parents, and adults to stay home, only going out when necessary, and ultimately missing opportunities for education, enrichment, and skill building. In the past year, I have seen directly the traumatic impact on children and parents when a main income earner in a family is detained with no prior record and held in detention for a prolonged period. Or a parent is deported, tearing apart the fabric of safety and security in the family and in our community. Passing the County Values Act would have great impact on our community as it protects spaces like parking lots and vacant areas that ICE has sometimes used to detain people without any criminal record. It also ensures that county employees are trained so that they know exactly how to respond if ICE is present in county facilities. A knowledgeable, coordinated response to ICE could prevent community members from being wrongfully detained or deported and families re-traumatized. The County Values Act will help young people, adults, and families feel more safe and return to participating in day-to-day life. It is another step for us to do everything we can to protect each other in the face of unprecedented violence and unjust enforcement. In addition, the current ICE operations happening in disguise and secrecy are abhorrent. Passing the Unmasked ICE Act would be an action to rebuild trust in the county and set a standard for all operations to follow a culture of responsibility and accountability. One of the most moving parts of GBCI's mentoring programs is watching 80 and 90-year-old mentors teach elementary and middle school students the values of a beloved community, which include solving conflicts nonviolently, living in the practice of honesty, transparency, and accountability. To nurture these values in our young people, it requires trusted adults and leaders to model that nonviolence, transparency, and accountability. We try to do that across all our work at GBCI. The young people we work with today are the future leaders of this county. As they learn, grow, and develop, they deserve to see the values of nonviolence, transparency, and accountability modeled in not only their families and their mentors, but in their county government too. Council members, we know it takes deep courage and strength to help create systems of transparency, accountability, and nonviolence. Today, I invite you to model that courage and strength for our county. Please pass the County Values Act and the Unmasked ICE Act. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Jack Saltner. Can you please turn on your mic? There you go.
Thank you. Good afternoon, council members. My name is Jack Zeltner. I'm a Wheaton resident from District 6, and I'll be testifying in support of both Bills 326, the County Values Act, and Bill 526, the Unmasked ICE Act. I'm testifying in my personal capacity today, but for some additional context, I am the Montgomery County Democratic Socialists of America co-chair, and I've been a volunteer with MoCo Immigrant Rights Collective since July 2025. I'm testifying today because of the immense gravity of the attack on our neighbors throughout the county, and it does us a disservice to self-censor our language in response to the tragedy. What we are dealing with here is not merely aggressive immigration enforcement policies. We're battling an ongoing ethnic cleansing in the U.S. and Montgomery County. The United Nations recognizes ethnic cleansing as rendering an area ethically homogenous by using force or intimidation to remove an ethnic minority group from an area. Donald Trump proudly ran for president on a platform of mass deportation, an internationally recognized tool of ethnic cleansing. His administration aspires to make 3,000 immigration arrests or abductions per day across the country to meet a goal of 1 million deportations per year. Congress has gutted vital safety net programs to funnel tens of billions of dollars of additional funding to DHS to build this massive deportation pipeline. DHS proudly and openly recruits for Customs and Border Patrol and ICE using well-recognized neo-Nazi, neo-Confederate, and white nationalist slogans. DHS and its collaborators in local government in adjacent counties are preparing to open a brand new concentration camp here in Western Maryland. So what can we do here in Montgomery County to combat what is actually happening? This white supremacist-led campaign against our Hispanic and other immigrant neighbors. I would submit to this council that you must use every single level of power available to you to impede this campaign, and that Bills 326 and Bill 526 will contribute to that effort. I volunteer with MoCo IRC as a rapid response legal observer. Since July, I've taken the time to wake up at 5 a.m. anywhere between 1 and 4 days a week in order to go to the Tacoma Park and Silver Spring neighborhoods to try and document active ICE abductions. If you haven't had the opportunity to observe these abductions firsthand, they can typically include anywhere between 4 to 10 unidentifiable masked assailants, usually armed with combat shotguns and assault rifles, crashing their vehicles into the victim's car and then pulling them from their car in a parking lot or in the middle of the road or outside of their homes. These abductions look and feel much more like cartel violence than any legal or legitimate law enforcement operation. The masks these federal agents are currently permitted to wear while committing abductions are a powerful reminder of the impunity they hold. The Unmasked ICE Act would help bring a modicum of accountability to federal agents and could be a valuable first step for the MCPD to regain some public trust. In theory, the Unmasked ICE Act could provide MCPD with the push they need to protect and serve our community more instead of wantonly allowing these kidnappings to happen in broad daylight. Additionally, ICE agents need a lot of physical space to operate effectively. I have personally witnessed federal agents performing prisoner exchanges from one vehicle to another in the parking lot of the New Hampshire Estates Elementary School before classes started. I have personally witnessed federal agents gathered at county-owned and operated parks and other properties to prepare for pre-dawn raids. The County Values Act, among other things, would create meaningful barriers for ICE operations in the county, and we must realize every opportunity we have to slow them down. At this point, I would like to thank Council Members Mink and Jawando, as well as all of their colleagues who have co-sponsored both of these bills for leading. Specifically, I would like to ask Councilmember Friedson to do more since he has elected to run for the county executive later this year. Anyone seeking that position needs to make sure to step up and do the most. The Public Safety Committee, I would implore you to no longer further delay the Unmasked ICE Act and to make sure that it is available for a full vote before the budget is submitted. And I would also challenge that if the committee continues to stall, that this full council brings it to the floor for a vote so that it can be passed immediately. Finally, I'm a little embarrassed by the lack of leadership by my own representative, Council President Fanny Gonzalez. I'm new to the county, and when I read that she had been an undocumented minor in her youth, I had suspected that she would be a stronger ally here. And my community is under the impression that you are kneecapping this and other legislative issues. I think we can all work together to make sure that we are in lockstep with our neighbors. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. We are going to move on. Shamus Reader? Is that?
Seamus Rader.
Shamus, there you go.
Gotcha. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for their time. I'm here to speak in support of both the Unmasked Act and the County Values Act. I had a bunch of statements prepared, but after hearing some of these testimonies, I struggle to see where I can add to the experience that they've had. So I'd actually just ask that we be completely silent for 10 seconds and listen to what we can hear just right now from outside this room. Right now, we're close enough to the road that you can hear cars going by. Earlier, I heard, the sound of like some kids yelling outside. If these bills are not passed, you could be sitting in this room and you could hear the screams right here of a family being torn apart, of someone yelling out, just begging them to make sure that their kids will be able to get into their house when they get home from school. People yelling out, hoping that someone just knows that they've been taken, because these are people that, when someone is taken, they don't know if others know what happened to them. And I am fortunate enough to not personally know what that's like, but I've read the testimonies. If these bills do not pass, and if ICE continues, not to get worse, but to continue as they have, and to move into this county, everyone here will hear those screams. And even if there's the argument to be made that, oh, well, ICE will just move their operations, somewhere else. It's still going to happen. There's going to be the knowledge that just in this case, this instance, that screaming is a direct result of these steps not being taken to at least put the smallest impediment on these operations. I know that these bills aren't going to solve the problem. These aren't going to stop these abductions altogether. But I see this as an opportunity for, just the smallest apologies, I'm there are people who say that why do anything if it's not going to fix it all? Why bother to be that one voice in the crowd? For the same reason why all these people are showing up and making their voices heard, even if one testimony alone isn't going to do it. Just the willingness to try and make it clear that if these groups are going to do these things, it's going to be this much more difficult, and there's this much more will in the community against it. That can have a bigger effect than you expect. And if you are able to show this bravery, and if you are able to inspire others in other counties to have that same bravery, that's when the real change can start. This is not just about this county. This is about setting the precedent for other groups, for other political organizations. Wow, I am completely off my original script. This is about showing that Montgomery County is willing to be the first one to stand up and say, absolutely not. And even if the police union isn't a huge fan of it, even if the Supreme Court decides, well, actually, the county doesn't get to control county resources, even if this doesn't work in the way that's hoped, then at a bare minimum, something was tried. At a bare minimum, other groups who might be able to push for even stronger legislation in their own communities will be able to see that it can be done. By virtue of where we live, I would argue that we have one of the most politically aware constituencies in the U.S. We're right at political ground zero, as it were. And if we're not able to come together and try to make these meaningful changes, then how can we hope for others to do the same? I'm asking you guys to go forward and support these bills and make this positive change. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Patrick Crump.
Good afternoon, members of the council. My name is Patrick Crump. I'm a resident of Silver Spring, a concerned American citizen, and a member of St. Luke's Episcopal Church, Bethesda. I'm here to testify in support of the County Values Act, Bill 3-26, and the Unmask ICE Act, Bill 526. I'm proud to live in Montgomery County, one of the most diverse counties in the country. In a recent study by WalletHub, 4 cities in our county, ranked among the top 10 most ethnically diverse in the U.S., with Germantown, Gaithersburg, my own town of Silver Spring, and Rockville ranking 1st, 3rd, 4th, and 9th, respectively. Just as we know biodiversity is essential for the health of our environment, I believe that ethnic, cultural, and religious diversity make for a richer, more resilient society. Montgomery County has not achieved this diversity by accident. It's grown from a combination of economic opportunities, diverse housing options, and a welcoming, multicultural environment. And yet the federal government's immigration policies and ICE's enforcement practices are threatening the safety and well-being of our communities. According to We Are CASA, when local governments assist ICE, trust erodes, families are destabilized, and public safety suffers. Immigrant families become afraid to report crimes, serve as witnesses, or seek help. That makes all of us less safe. CASA has found that there is zero transparency around ICE operations, including who is being detained and where enforcement is happening. Just this week, the political news site The Hill argued that obscuring officers' identities erodes public trust in law enforcement and makes it harder to hold individual officers accountable for any potential bad behavior. I'm competing with another. My church, the Episcopal Church, has taken a strong vocal position in support of what we call migration with dignity. A joint letter from 154 bishops of the Episcopal Church, released January 31st and entitled Whose Dignity Matters, called on Americans, and I quote, to trust their moral compass and to question rhetoric that trades in fear rather than in truth. As Episcopalians, our moral compass is rooted firmly in the gospel of Jesus Christ. Safety built on fear is an illusion. True safety comes when we replace fear with compassion, violence with justice, and unchecked power with accountability. That's the vision our faith calls us to live out, and the promise our country is meant to uphold. I share the county's values listed in Bill 326 of equity, inclusiveness, dignity, and justice, and the maintenance of community trust by clearly separating county services from federal immigration enforcement. I also support Bill 526, the Unmask ICE Act, as a means towards strengthening community safety and enforcing law enforcement accountability. I urge the Montgomery County Council to adopt both bills to protect our proudly diverse communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Gabriela Rivera.
Good afternoon. My name is Gabriela Rivera. I'm here once again on behalf of Montgomery County Immigrant Rights Collective, a volunteer-led community mutual aid network dedicated to protecting and empowering immigrant communities across Maryland. I am here in support of Bill 326, the County Values Act, and Bill 526, the Unmasked ICE Act. And I need you to understand that for children of immigrants like me, this is not hypothetical, it's not political, it is personal. I am here as a first-generation college student and a member of your community. My education represents everything my family has worked for. It represents sacrifice, it represents survival, it represents the belief that this county is a place where hard work leads to stability. But stability cannot exist where fear is allowed to operate freely. Bill 326 simply requires that ICE present a judicial warrant before entering non-public areas of county facilities. That is not radical, that is not extreme, that is the bare minimum of due process. Without this bill, you are asking families to gamble every time they step into a public building. You are asking parents if taking their kids to the hospital could put them at risk. You are demanding students to perform well on exams while worrying whether their family will be torn apart. Bill 526 addresses something equally troubling: masked enforcement. When law enforcement officers operate in masks without visible identification, it sends a clear message: intimidation over transparency. Transparency should not be controversial. If you are operating in our community, residents deserve to know who you are. We are witnessing ICE agents concealing their identities while operating in our communities. That should concern every single one of us. If you're going to operate in our neighborhoods, detain people, and destroy lives, then they should be willing to do so with their name and face visible. Hiding behind masks while exercising authority is not strength, that is running away from accountability. And accountability falls on this council as well. If you choose not to support these bills, then you must be prepared to take responsibility for the fear, mistrust, and harm that follows. Leadership requires courage. It requires standing by your decisions and acknowledging their consequences. Mass operations do not build trust. They traumatize people. They escalate panic. They blur the lines between lawful enforcement and unchecked power. As a first-generation college student, I was taught that this country is built on laws and accountability, that no one is above the Constitution, that due process matters. These bills simply uphold those principles. Montgomery County often says it stands for inclusion and opportunity, but words are easy to say. This vote is not about slogans, it is about whether those values mean anything when tested. Students like me are trying to build futures. We're studying late, we're working jobs, we're carrying the hopes of entire families. We should not have to carry fear on top of that. If this county truly values safety, education, and community trust, then the choice is clear. Vote yes on both of these bills. Our community deserves transparency. Our community deserves accountability. And our community deserves leaders who are willing to stand on their values, especially when it is difficult. So I'll leave you with just one question. And I'll say it in Spanish, especially Natalie, if you can listen to me. ¿Ustedes no tienen coraje? Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Lady Garcia.
Thank you, council members, for having me today. My name is Lady Garcia, Director of Health Human Services at CASA. I lead a team that helps immigrant families in Montgomery County with food assistance, housing, healthcare, mental health services, and crisis support. Today, the most urgent crisis our members are facing is ICE enforcement. I'm here in strong support of Bill 526, the Unmasked ICE Act, and Bill 326, the County Values Act. Together, these bills protect trust, safety, and the access to essential services for immigrant families. Over the past year, our organization has supported hundreds of families impacted by immigration enforcement. The consequences are not only legal, they are emotional, financial, and deeply psychological. I want to share the story of Elena. Elena is a Montgomery County resident and a mother of 3 U.S. citizen-born children. Last month, her husband was deported to Honduras. Overnight, she became the sole provider for her family. When she came to our office, her request was nothing extraordinary. She wanted to know how to feed her children and put a roof over their heads. But she was terrified. She sat in our office shaking, afraid to sign any forms, to provide any basic information. She repeatedly asked whether applying for benefits for her children could put her on a list. She feared that walking into the building, county building, could lead her to her own detention. She feared retaliation. She feared that any contact with the government agency could separate her from her children. This is the human impact. When families are afraid to seek essential services, children go without food, rent goes unpaid, medical care is delayed, trauma deepens and trust disappears. The chilling effect is not only affects immigration cases, they affect community safety. Families withdraw from the systems that were designed in the first place to support them. That's why compassionate, clear, trauma-building policies are not political. They are essential to community well-being. When officers wear masks and do not show their faces, families experience fear and confusion. Children tell us, people in masks took my dad. They cannot tell whether the individuals are real for law enforcement. The trauma starts right at that moment. The Unmasked ICE Act does not prevent officers from doing their job. It simply requires them to show their faces when interacting with the public, with any of us, except in limited circumstances, of course, like swap operations. Transparency builds trust. Trust improves police safety. The County Values Act equally is critical. Our members visit county buildings for health services, food assistance, and other supports. These spaces must feel safe. If immigration enforcement can enter non-public areas without a federal jurisdictional warrant, or use county parking lots as staging areas, families will stop coming for help. This bill establishes clear protections. ICE must present a federal jurisdictional warrant to enter non-public areas. County property cannot be used as a staging or processing site for civil immigration enforcement. County department must receive training and clear guidance on how to protect their own citizens. Signage at every center must clearly explain those rules as well. If these bills do not pass, families will continue to fear unidentified officers. Families may avoid applying for housing and food assistance. People may skip medical appointments just to avoid hospitals and clinics. Survivors of domestic violence and crime may not seek help. County staff may lack clear guidance on how to respond to ICE visits. Workers may not report abuse or exploitation. Children may experience anxiety, sleep disruption, and chronic school absences. These two bills work together to protect trust, safety, and access to services. Immigrant families are part of this community. They work here, they pay taxes. Their children attend school here, often alongside your own. They deserve dignity and clear consistency. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Alexa Fraser.
I'm Reverend Alexa Fraser, a minister who has lived in Rockville for the last 25 years. I'm here today to support both of the acts that we're discussing, the County Values Act and the Unmasked Act. Our children, teachers, and staff are being traumatized by fear of ICE. Others have spoken about other parts of this, but I would like to touch on those three populations. I've had several disturbing conversations with families and teachers. A 10-year-old who is a volunteer tutor to younger children, despite the fact that she has learning differences and anxiety, and yet she saw ICE near her school and believes, and I quote here, that the president wants to take her parents away. How can we have that happening in and near our schools? At a listening session at an elementary school with a high number of immigrant families, all 12 parents participating said that they worry when they drop their kids off before going to work that they won't see them again. I cannot even imagine having dropped off my child at school for a dozen years. What, asks the 5-year-old, would she do if the mother doesn't show up to pick her up after school? Kids at a local middle school watched ICE throw 2 men to the ground and tase them as they were arriving in the morning. Now, teachers and staff. I have friends in both of those populations, and all of them have enormous compassion for their students, for the people around them, and don't even know what to do. They are at a loss for the school supporting them if they want to take actions. My friends are seriously considering dropping out of being school teachers, despite being only a year or two away from a very good and well-earned retirement benefit, because they don't know how to help. I believe that these bills would give them some answer and some support as they wonder what can they do to help. By requiring a valid judicial warrant and legal review, the pace of abductions will slow, and that gives time to respond to these illegal actions and indeed end the illegal nature of these actions. I had the honor of responding to the Minneapolis call to clergy to witness that flood of federal troops and their illegal actions. Our goal was to support the city through the height of the criminal invasion of that state. One of the particularly egregious patterns of federal behavior was the pattern of unidentifiable, because wearing a mask, not wearing any ID, agents attacking Minnesotans without warrants. Let me quote a friend from Minneapolis about how life in that city has been, and frankly, how we can expect it to be here if bills like this don't pass. My friend says, I woke up at 7 a.m. and looked out my windows. It is how I start each day. Instead of a mostly empty street and some squirrels, I saw a car, lights on, in the middle of the bus lane right outside of my door. I immediately knew what had happened, but I tried to convince myself that maybe somebody just broke down. I went outside and found the car with its windows smashed, keys inside, identification inside, just remnants of another unwarranted, literally, abduction. This time a 20-year-old. I don't know their history, but I doubt he was the worst of the worst. I doubt he was a criminal at all. That is what happened when people with masks are allowed to act with impunity. And I personally don't think that somebody would have been pulled out of their car in the middle of the night outside of my friend's window had the perpetrators of that had to be properly identified and risk having that evidence shown. My friend concludes by saying, luckily I was able to get in contact with their family through some mutual friends. So the family was informed of the abduction and the car was returned to them.
Thank you for your time, and you can submit the rest of your testimony via email, okay? So thank you for this group. We're gonna call the next one. I have Nicole Rios. Bradley Orland, David Winfield, Sophia Wall, Emily Garcia Pina, Blen Asegu, Ellen Macha. And we're gonna start with Nicole. I see her coming down. And Nicole, you do have 5 minutes.
Hello. Good afternoon, Council President, Vice President, and Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to submit testimony on the County Values Act and the Unmask ICE Act. I'd also like to thank those of you who have co-sponsored both of these important pieces of legislation. I'm Nicole Rios, speaking on behalf of the Montgomery County Women's Democratic Club and the Latino Democratic Club, and most importantly, as a Montgomery County native, born and raised in Gaithersburg, a proud D7 resident and voter, in strong support of both the County Values Act and the Unmask ICE Act. Both of these organizations exist to advocate for policies that uplift families like mine. The daughter of immigrants who have proudly called Montgomery County home since the 80s. I stand here as a reminder of how investing in and protecting our immigrant neighbors paid dividends for generations. I had the privilege of growing up in one of the most diverse cities in the nation. I never had to question my safety because of that diversity. I never feared encountering masked, armed agents on my school campus, outside community centers, or at my family's doorstep. As you know, Montgomery County is home to one of the largest populations of immigrants of any county in the U.S. In 2024, more than one in every 3 county residents were born outside of the U.S. From past legislation, votes, and public statements, I believe that all 11 council members sitting in front of me understand the importance of our immigrant community. That is not in question today. What is in question is how we protect that community. We are living in dystopian times, but we must meet the moment. The moment calls for principled, creative, and sensible action. The county is defined by immigrants. The county has repeatedly expressed that diversity is a core value and a strength. We know our communities are more vibrant, resilient, and prosperous because of our immigrant neighbors. If we believe that, then our policies must reflect it. Support every bill that doubles down on those protections of our friends and our families. These two bills deserve the same response and unanimous support as the County Trust Act. Bill 326, the County Values Act, builds on the Maryland State Values Act by requiring a judicial warrant before ICE can access certain sensitive locations. This bill expands those protections to include all county facilities. It goes a step further by requiring clear signage barring ICE from non-public areas without a judicial warrant, mandates staff training, and provides access to legal support for county employees. These are practical, measured steps to ensure our facilities are not used to facilitate federal overreach. At a time when we are witnessing unconstitutional orders from DHS and lawless action from federal agents, it is necessary for the county to explicitly define how it uses its own property and how it can be accessed. We cannot control federal policy, but we can set clear rules for our own institutions. Bill 526, Unmask ICE Act, similarly advances transparency and accountability. It prohibits law enforcement from operating in Montgomery County, including ICE, from wearing masks. This aligns with existing MCPD policy and extends that commitment to transparency to all law enforcement actors in the county. Public safety depends on public trust. When law enforcement officers operate visibly and are identifiable, it strengthens accountability, protects constitutional rights, and reassures the public that authority is being exercised lawfully. We must do everything in our own power to slow federal immigration enforcement. Today, we cannot change the federal government. We cannot prevent ICE from operating on our streets, but we can limit where and how they operate. We can protect county spaces, we can demand transparency, and we can slow ICE down. Immigration enforcement is not an issue that impacts only one group. It is a county-wide issue that requires a county-wide response. The solidarity behind the County Values Act and the strong community engagement surrounding these two bills today demonstrate just how deeply this issue resonates across Montgomery County. At best, this legislation limits ICE's ability to operate unchecked in our county. At least it communicates unmistakable standards of transparency, accountability, and respect for rights that our community expects. The County Values Act and the Unmask ICE Act are necessary, thoughtful, and urgent steps to protect our neighbors and uphold our shared values. I urge the County Council to act boldly and pass both bills and swiftly schedule the Unmask ICE Act before the budget vote. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next, Bradley Orland.
Good afternoon. My name is Bradley Ormland, and I live in Rockville. I came here today to urge you to swiftly pass the County Values Act and the Unmask ICE Act. These are common sense bills that will take moderate steps to protect against some of the worst abuses being perpetrated by federal agents. ICE and CBP are not performing any legitimate law enforcement function. The people they target are overwhelmingly peaceful and have never been convicted of any violent crime. When peaceful members of our community are kidnapped and assaulted, that creates a climate of terror and it detracts from public safety. These agencies are hopelessly politicized, and they are infected with a culture of unprovoked violence and willful cruelty. These agents routinely point guns at unarmed civilians in public areas. They are kidnapping people off the street, detaining them in violation of habeas corpus, and deporting them without trials. They are holding hundreds of children in camps that violate the most basic human rights, denying adequate food and needed medication. They are attacking civilians with non-lethal and lethal rounds, as well as chemical weapons. Any one of these would be appalling. Taken together, they're overwhelming. It seems like something that must not be real, but it is well documented. The federal government and the agencies themselves occasionally brag about it. These abuses would be horrible and unacceptable if they were targeted at undocumented immigrants. But I think it is noteworthy that they are targeting all visible minorities, people of color, queer people, anyone speaking a language other than English in public. They are attacking people who observe them or attempt to document their public operations, and they are targeting the president's political opponents. My bachelor's degree is in political science, with a concentration in Russian and Eastern European studies. So when I tell you that these agencies are functionally similar to the KGB under Stalin, I want you to understand that I am not engaging in hyperbole. That is simply where we are as a country right now, unpleasant as that may be to acknowledge. It has happened here, and it is happening here. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Maryland resident, unlawfully arrested and deported to a torture camp. Last year, DHS agents shot through the windshield of a man in Washington, D.C. It's a miracle he's not on the same list of martyrs as Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Just this year, ICE admits that 6 people died in their custody in the first 3 weeks of the year. If we allow these agencies to operate without further restrictions in Montgomery County, they are going to kill somebody here. Maybe it's another mom with stuffed animals in her glove compartment. Maybe it's a nurse whose final act is defending an unarmed woman being attacked by masked men in military gear. Maybe it's a mom or father who just dropped their kid off at school. It would be outrageous for our local law enforcement to coordinate or collaborate in any way with ICE and CBP, and it is unconscionable for our county to permit these agencies to conduct violent operations in our county when we have the capacity to hinder them. Montgomery County Police should serve and protect Montgomery County residents. And right now, that means protecting us from federal agents if they violate the law or violate our constitutional rights. Let me start with the County Values Act, would place moderate restrictions on the capacity of these agencies to conduct violent operations in our county. The Unmask ICE Act is a step towards ensuring that public servants and law enforcement officials are identifiable and accountable to the people they are supposed to serve. These are not radical bills. They are moderate and they are supported broadly across the county. If you believe in anything at all, if you stand for anything at all, we need you to stand for county residents and against the president's personal secret police force. I call on you to swiftly pass the County Values Act and the Unmask ICE Act without any weakening amendments. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, David Winfield.
My name is David Winfield. I speak in support of Bill 326, the Values Act, and Bill 526, the Unmask ICE Act. I live in Gaithersburg in Councilmanic District 3. I have lived in Montgomery County since 1973. I am a member of GBCI, the Gaithersburg Beloved Community Initiative, and AIM, Action in Montgomery. I want to protect people whom I have met over a long period of time because my daughter is fluent in Spanish. I want to protect them from the illegal and cruel acts of ICE. An ideal of mine is the rule of law as represented in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I care about equity and inclusiveness. ICE plans a detention center in Hagerstown. Montgomery County is diverse, an ideal target for the Minneapolis treatment. I thank Council Member Mink for sponsoring the County Values Act. This act is a well-crafted piece of legislation. Section 2162 clearly states that the purpose of the act is to uphold the county's values of equity, inclusiveness, dignity, and justice for all, and defines the county's assets to be protected against use by ICE as staging areas. Section 2163 admirably balances the duties of the county employees encountering ICE versus the need to avoid personal risk. I urge the Council to pass Bill 326. I thank Council Member Will Jawando for sponsoring Bill 526, the Unmask ICE Act. This law would prohibit federal, state, or local law enforcement agencies from wearing masks or facial coverings except to prevent the spread of airborne diseases or smoke inhalation, or as members of a SWAT team. Masks inspire terror. A normal face inspires trust in law enforcement personnel and makes the police feel more responsible for their acts. I urge the Council to pass Bill 526. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Sophia Wall. Is that you? Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm Sophia Wall, a member of Students Fair and a Montgomery County High School student. To be honest, there is no beginning of my speech. If you can watch or support people being killed, assaulted, dehumanized, kidnapped, taken, children being separated from their families, targeted, racially profiled, aggressive raids, violence, medical neglect, abuse, and more, then you are the animal, the alien. Hardworking, selfless people willing to do the jobs most Americans won't do, risking their health, safety, and lives. If you think they're taking your jobs, double check your credentials for what you have done. At that point, it's jealousy because you see what you aren't.
carrying innocent people not in the way of anything, just wanting better for themselves, their children, and generations to come. Over 5,000 children have been separated from their parents over force. Last year, about 175 children were being held in ICE detention every day. Are those the criminals we are talking about? Doesn't that sound familiar to the forcing of Native American children into boarding schools? They are trauma parallels. Native Americans were forced into a genocide, which involved violence, murdering, erasing rich culture, and taking away their freedom. ICE is taking away freedom and way of life. Families anxious and scared to go out anywhere, even for healthcare necessities. Little kids should be able to be outside without being bait and targets. Childhood is being ripped apart and taken away because these kids and young adults are forced to step up. In Montgomery County, it goes without saying, ICE out, and to sign the bill. Away from our community, our neighbors, and our friends. Stop repeating history and colonization, and absolutely no one is illegal on stolen land. Check where you're standing. We are standing on Piscataway Conoy Tribe Nation land. Al final seremos más fuertes, nuestras voces serán escuchadas. Thank you.
Thank you. Blen Asegu? Go ahead.
Hello, Montgomery County Council. Thank you for having me. My name is Blen Asegu, and I am a freshman at Richmond Montgomery High School and a student advocate. I'm a resident of Only, who went through Brookgrove Elementary School, Farquhar Middle School, and then Richmond Montgomery High School. I have friends at Sherwood High School, Springbrook, Blake, and more. I've worked with many others on the Small Advisory Council, Montgomery County Regional SGA, MCR, and more recently Students Fair, an organization dedicated to protecting the rights of our immigrant students. But today, I speak to you as a student. One, like all others, who is impacted by the decisions made in this very room. I would like to thank Councilmember Kristen Mink for proposing Bill 326, the County Values Act. I am here to support it. School and student safety is important, now more than ever. As a daughter of immigrants and a friend to many, the fear of immigration enforcement has caused visible unrest. The fear of being separated from family isn't something that should plague the mind of a student when they should be focusing on extracurriculars, or homework, or parents while they're at work. This feeling was reciprocated by my fears. Many schools have held walkouts, including my own. So this is something to be taken lightly. The County Values Act would highlight zones in which ICE will not be permitted through posted signage. It would also forbid agents from operating on county-owned parking lots or all other county facilities. This bill would also require the review of judicial warrants before giving any sort of permission to immigration agents. Students will be able to feel safer and secure, knowing that their schools and parking lots, among others, are protected zones where they can't be hurt, and that we here are pushing to protect them. I will feel safer knowing that my mom, an elementary school nurse in the Springbrook area, will not be targeted while she is at work. I and many others are of Ethiopian descent. Currently, there is civil unrest in my country, and I've had family come to the U.S. on asylum. Now, how can I go home and hear that ICE agents have been spotted in the area and not feel a sense of dread and anxiety from my family? One of my cousins is a college student, and the other a middle schooler. Don't they too deserve to go to school safely and without worry? Not only does Montgomery County have a large Habesha population, but also a sizable portion of immigrant families and students. So this issue should be at the forefront of our minds. Every meeting or General Assembly I have gone to, safety is mentioned. When it is such a prevalent concern, we have to make every effort to make sure to alleviate those worries. According to a Stanford University study, during the 24-25 school year, an increase in ICE raids in California's Central Valley coincided with a 22% increase in student absences, largely due to concerned families pulling their children out. Our county, Montgomery County, is very diverse, and we can prevent this from happening. I urge you, council members, to pass Bill 326, the County Values Act, so that our students can go to school confidently. Education is the vaccine of violence. Edward James Olmos. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Ellen Macha.
Good afternoon. My name is Ellen Macha. I am a senior at John F. Kennedy High School and a proud daughter of two hardworking immigrants. I am here today in strong support of Bill 326 and 526. In the society we live in, everyone knows ICE, not the kind that goes in your drink, but immigrant and customs enforcement. Even in our schools and our communities, fear has become a part of everyday life. Students worry constantly about their families, their friends, and themselves. Families are scared to leave their homes. Some are afraid to go grocery shopping just because they fear of being detained in the parking lot and never making it home in time to cook for dinner. Something as simple as buying your groceries has become a challenge for immigrant parents in Montgomery County. Now, I turn the floor to my cousin, Sierra Chambergo.
Good afternoon. My name is Sierra Chambergo, and I'm a first-generation college student at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Born and raised in Montgomery County, District 6, I stand here in strong support of Bill 326 and Bill 526. As a daughter of an immigrant family, I recognize the privilege I have to stand before you today. I am here representing families who have built their lives in this county, who work hard, raise children, and start businesses, and contribute to the community every single day. My uncle, Edgar Chambergo, was an undocumented resident who lived in Rockville for 18 years. He owned a landscaping business, purchased a home with his wife, and was raising his daughter who attends Rockville High School. He paid taxes and contributed to the community. He was in process of adjusting his status. On August 19, 2025, my uncle was detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement on his way to work. One moment he was a business owner and father leaving home for work. The next he was taken away, and his family was transferred to a detention center in Louisiana within 48 hours. Later, we found his photo in a website called Busted Newspaper, listed alongside people labeled as criminals. He had no criminal conviction. We still do not know how they obtained his information or why it was displayed publicly. Seeing his face there was devastating and made his vulnerability painfully visible to the world. Seeing his face, it was a clear example of how families like ours can be exposed and treated unfairly, even when they are contributing members of the community. That image still haunts me to this day. Most recent, my uncle Edgar Chambergo self-deported himself back to Peru in fear of being taken away and living in the horrible conditions that my uncle Edgar Chambergo endured. My uncle Edgar Chambergo also resided in the Rockville area. Like any other immigrant, he worked until he could no longer. He passed away February 18th from an untreated heart complication, one that could have been treated. But due to one single status, he was discriminated from healthcare benefits. My once happy family decreased by 2 within the span of 7 months. I could go on and I can explain why you should pass this bill, and I have all the reasons to, but I just want to say this bill is not about bipartisanship. They are about dignity, transparency, and ensuring that Montgomery County remains a place where families can live without constant fear. My uncles built their lives here for 18 years. Family like ours deserve policies that reflect values this county claims to uphold. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm sorry about that. I see a little friend all the way to the left. You're not on my list, but did you register to testify? What's your name? Okay, can you get the mic closer to you? There you go. There you go. Go ahead.
My speech? Hello, my name is Emily Garcia Pena. I am a 7th grader at Rosa Parks Middle School and a proud daughter of immigrants. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I am here to support the County Values Act and the Unmask Us Act because these bills are not just policies to me, they affect families like mine. As a daughter of immigrants, I know what it feels like to live with fear in the back of your mind. Fear that a normal day could suddenly turn into the worst day of your life. Fear that a parent might not come home. Fear that a simple trip to work, school, house of worship, or the store could end with the family being separated. No child should have to grow up with that kind of anxiety. No student should sit in class wondering if their family will still be together when the school day ends, but many of us do. This is why the County Values Act matters. Public places like libraries, community centers, and other county buildings should feel safe. These are places where families go to learn, get help, and build a better future. They should never feel like places where families could be targeted or traumatized. This bill makes sure county spaces are not just
are not used for immigration enforcement without a proper legal warrant, and that county workers know how to respond safely and lawfully. It protects workers and protects families. It simply makes sure the law is followed correctly and people's rights are respected. The Unmasked ICE Act is also about basic dignity and accountability. When officers enforce the law, they should be recognizable, just like local police officers. When people wear masks without a clear safety reason, it creates fear and confusion, especially for children. Seeing masked officers take someone away is traumatic. It stays with you. People deserve transparency and accountability in public places. These bills reflect our county's values. They say that they say that families matter. They say children deserve to feel safe. They say that laws should be enforced with dignity, humanity, and respect. I respectfully urge you to support and pass these bills. Please choose policies that protect families, protect children, and protect the community we all share. Because when families feel safe, our county is stronger. Thank you for your time and for listening.
Thank you so much, Ms. Emily Garcia. And thank you, everybody, for your time. We're going to call on the next panel. So we have Jess Henry Montes, Leah Salsa, Kristen Schmidt, Leslie Diaz, Jemileth Monge, Loretta Ulrich Ferguson, William Schauman, and we're gonna start with Jess Henry Montes. Can you turn it on? It's in front of you. There you go. Uh-oh. Oh, no, it's to their side. Uh-oh. Can somebody help him?
Okay.
There
Sorry.
you go. You got it.
It's been a while. Well, good afternoon, council members. My name is Henry Montes, and I'm co-chair of the Latino Health Steering Committee of Montgomery County. And thank you for this opportunity to share our perspectives on the current Bill 326. In this bill, we recognize the County Council's good work in articulating a plan of action for protecting our vulnerable populations from immigration and custom enforcement, and its collaborative federal agency agents from disrupting the tranquility of our residents' day-to-day lives. Key provisions of the bill will require extra effort from our county officials, from the county executive to the persons working on the signage that are part of the bill. These extra efforts present the understanding that we are all in this together and that we can do what it takes to help one another. Bill 3026 complements efforts by the state in its States Values Act, complements efforts with our County Trust Act, and as well as the Bill 526 also being considered. These legislative tactics address personal services for community residents with special attention to our immigrants. And now with this bill, we see protection through guidance in the facilities where such services are provided, as well as other county properties. Health services can only be successful in an environment where trustworthy professionals can give attention to the client and concerns and their needs. Perhaps signage might use other than English language to help the affected public and give them a chance to learn what guidance is given. Going from tranquility to stressful life engagements due to an outside force of unpredictability and perhaps violence can only be a soul-wrenching experience. Over this past year, a study done by University of Maryland and the Montgomery County nonprofit Identity Incorporated followed 200 Latino families in the county to get the pulse of the community. Under safety concerns, under that part of the data, questions considered the following. Going to work. About 50% of the families felt unsafe in going to work. Medical or mental health services. About 49% did not feel safe in going to these services. Sending children to school. About 38% avoided children going to school.
Mr. Montes, thank you so much for your testimony. You can submit the rest over email, okay? Thank you for coming.
Okay.
Next, Leah Salsa. Leah,
Hi.
okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Leah Salza. I'm a resident of Montgomery County. I'm also a parent here and a small business owner. I'm here in support of the County Values Act. I served on the PTA as vice president and then president for 4 years while my children were in elementary school at Tacoma Park Elementary. So I'm very invested in schools here. My business works with art enrichment for children, and so I've worked with hundreds of Montgomery County students. One of the ways that they express anxiety is through play, and I've noticed lately I witnessed some children playing Ice Agent with each other as a way to kind of process what they're hearing. These are 5 to 7-year-olds, and these are not even children directly impacted. I think for the children directly impacted, those children have been fully traumatized, but this has seeped out to all children. And I just want to encourage you to pass laws in our county that reflect the values of equity, inclusion, dignity, and justice. Those are values that are reasons that I moved here, that I raised my children here. And to maintain community trust, we need to actively espouse these values, even as federal immigration enforcement does not. I think it's our responsibility as a community to keep county spaces, especially schools, as safe places for students and families, as we heard from very powerful testimony today, and that children should be going to school without fear of being harassed, assaulted, or detained, or having their parents detained. I would like to see our local government not only say that we espouse those values, but live those things in our laws and in our actions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Kristen Schmidt.
Good afternoon, County Council members. Thank you so much. My name is Reverend Kristen Schmidt. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am an Olney resident. I serve as senior minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Silver Spring, and I'm here as a member of Action in Montgomery. In January, I traveled to Minneapolis with 1,200 other clergy to bear witness to the harm ICE has waged in that city. While there, I met a lawyer who had been tear gassed 8 times in just one day, providing legal support to residents whose doors were illegally kicked down and family members detained by ICE. I met members of a Native American congregation whose friends have been disappeared. I even met people with pregnant neighbors who were planning to have their high-risk babies at home because ICE agents there routinely show up and take people straight out of hospital emergency and recovery rooms. The courageous response of the Minneapolis community has been incredible, but I want to be clear, it has only been necessary because of a failure of government. Ordinary people deserve more from their local and state officials than strongly worded letters and F-bomb-laden press conferences when anyone, federal agent or otherwise, violates their rights. The burden of protecting people from violent and illegal behavior should never have fallen on the shoulders of soccer moms and school teachers, grandparents and pastors, and other ordinary people in Minneapolis. And we look to you here now to make sure it won't continue to fall on us in Montgomery County. because making sure all people can go to the hospital, drop off their children at school, and access government services without fear of violence or being permanently disappeared is the bare minimum that residents should be able to expect of their local government. So I urge you, please pass both of these bills to further curb the power that ICE can legally wield in Montgomery County. Because as CBS and other news organizations reported just 2 days ago, ICE has moved approximately 100 vehicles straight from Minneapolis to its newly acquired concentration camp in Williamsport, Maryland. The evidence suggests they are ramping up operations right here in our state. I hope we will have as many laws and other safeguards in place as possible to protect our neighbors when they do. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next, Leslie Diaz Yamilet Monge. Can you turn on the mic? There you go.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Leslie Yamilet Diaz Monge, and I am a sophomore at James Huber Blake High School, and I am a member of the Student Fair chapter at Blake. This issue is deeply personal to me because I have immigrant parents and I am proud of them. They did not come to this country to harm anyone or to be seen as dangerous. They came here for a better life, not because of the language you speak or because of the color of our skin, but because they wanted to give me and my siblings opportunities they never had. They sacrificed comfort. They sacrificed comfort, stability, and even time with their own families so that we could have a future filled with possibility. My parents had to watch their own parents' funerals through a phone screen because they chose to stay here and build a better life for us. That is the kind of sacrifice they made. They gave up final goodbyes, important moments, and pieces of their hearts so that I could be here today. I would not be sitting here today if it were not for their strength, courage, and love. That is why this matters to me so much. The thought of losing them is something that lives quietly in the back of my mind. I never want to experience that kind of loss or fear of policy. My parents are not monsters. They are hardworking, loving people who gave up everything for their children. All I ask for is that families like mine are treated with dignity, transparency, and humanity. When officers from the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement enter communities wearing masks and hiding their identities, it adds another layer of fear to families like mine. Seeing someone with authority conceal their face makes an already painful situation feel even more intimidating and uncertain. Transparency matters. If power is being exercised in our neighborhoods, the people carrying it out should be clearly identified. Accountability builds trust, and trust is what our community needs in order to feel safe. I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm asking for dignity. I'm asking for transparency. I'm asking for unity for families like mine who have already sacrificed so much. Is that really too much to ask for? We deserve to live without constant fear. We deserve to feel safe in our own homes, and we deserve the chance to continue building the better life our parents worked so hard to give us. And honestly, my parents work hard, pay taxes, and contribute to this community every single day. They are a part of this foundation that keeps this country moving forward. Also, if officers are so confident in the work they are doing, then transparency should not be something to hide from. Communities deserve clarity, not confusion or intimidation. But genuinely, all I'm asking for is the chance to grow up with my family by my side. Is that truly too much to ask for in a country built by immigrants? Also, these bills better pass. We deserve protection, not excuses. Also, Jesus said to love our neighbors, not deport them. And God bless you guys all. In Jesus' name, we say amen. That's it.
Thank you very much. Loretta Ulrich Ferguson.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to submit testimony on the County Values Act, and thank you to those of you who have co-sponsored the bill. My name is Loretta Ulrich Ferguson. I'm a resident of Tacoma Park, where I've lived for the past 13 years, and I'm also the parent of 2 children who have attended MCPS, Montgomery Blair High School, and who are current County Department of Recreation employees. I'm also a parent representative for the Long Branch Water Wizards, one of the county's 6 public summer swim teams that participate in the Montgomery County Swim League. It's in my capacity as a swim team rep and parent that I'm speaking here with you today. Summer swim team is a quintessential summer activity in Montgomery County. We're fortunate that our county has invested in several public teams so all children have an opportunity to participate. Our team's practices and meets are held in a county facility during a time it's closed to the general public. Since last summer, other team members and I have had ongoing discussions about what we as parents would and could do if ICE decides to try to gain entry to the pool during our practices or meets, because our pool, in particular Long Branch, is located in an area already targeted by ICE. In July, we held a Know Your Rights session as part of our preparation because parents were scared, and they remain scared now. We welcome the implementation of this bill because it would create a legal structure for when and how federal immigration officers are permitted to use county property, and it would provide guidance and training for county employees on what to do if faced with this scenario. The legal structure and training would bolster our team's efforts to keep our kids and their families safe while they are participating in a county-sponsored activity at a county facility. Our team is representative of our county and is an incredibly diverse population. We have seen elsewhere in this country how unchecked, out of control immigration enforcement has a chilling effect on immigrants or anyone who is perceived to be an outsider or quote unquote other based on the color of their skin or the language they speak. We've seen how violent, lawless enforcement has an impact on school attendance and children's participation in extracurricular activities. I support the passage of this bill because the lawless actions of immigration enforcement makes our communities more dangerous for all of us, including our children. Our community must stand against the illegal and immoral actions of ICE agents and demand that they follow very simple, straightforward, and widely accepted practices to ensure the safety of everyone in our community, especially our children. One thing we can hopefully all agree on is that we should strive to create space for kids to be kids and enjoy the small pleasures of childhood, a time of life which is fleeting and hopefully innocent. My heart aches for all the swimmers on our team, all the children in our county, and all the children in our country who are losing their childhoods and are living in fear because of ICE actions. For these reasons and the reasons I previously mentioned, I respectfully urge the county to vote in favor of the County Values Act.
Thank you. Next, William Schulman. You have 3 minutes. Okay.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Council President Fanny Gonzalez and members of the Council. My name is William Schauman. I come here today to speak in favor of Council Bill 326, the County Values Act. I live in downtown Silver Spring, where I am a member of Ascension Episcopal Church on Sligo Avenue, an Action in Montgomery founding congregation. I moved from the district to Silver Spring in 1979. I was delighted to find even then that Silver Spring and Down County in general are wonderfully rich and hardworking immigrants with valuable skills. We Silver Spring residents know that immigrants do all the real work in our neighborhoods. They have been our roofers, painters, landscapers, garbage collectors. More and more, they or their children are going to be our lawyers, accountants, doctors, and politicians. Today, immigrants are building the Purple Line down Wayne Avenue. I only wish we had more of them. They would get the job done faster. This bill sends a message to our immigrant residents. Your county values you, and it will do what it can to protect you from the lawless, brutal behavior that ICE has demonstrated so often and in so many places since January 2025. It sends a message to county employees. You do not need to cooperate and should not cooperate with ICE beyond the minimum required by law. ICE is, to say the least, adequately funded to do its job without help. Finally, it sends a message to ICE. Indiscriminate, not to mention incompetent, enforcement causes great distress in the immigrant community and does nothing to bring about what we all want, a just immigration system. Tread carefully in our county. DEI has not gone out of fashion here, and immigrants are still, as they have always been, people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to move on to the final panel. It is, let's invite William Hedgewood, Ross Wells, Leslie Susan, Susanti Follingstad, Allison Erickson, and then we have a virtual person afterwards. So we're going to start with William Hedgewood. Is that not you? Is Mr. William here? No? Okay. So what about Ross Wells? Is that you? Okay. Sir, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of Bill 326, the County Values Act. My name is Ross Wells, and I was raised in Montgomery County. I've lived in Tacoma Park since 1977, the same year I got my Maryland license as a carpenter. Beginning in the late 70s, I began to notice that men from El Salvador were showing up on the job sites where I worked. Many of them were fleeing the death squads in their home country in the run-up to the Civil War there. At that time, I don't think I could have located El Salvador on the map. Since then, I've worked alongside and become friends with many of these immigrant tradespeople from Central and South America. And they have become part of the backbone of our workforce and our community. Today, these same Montgomery County residents live in fear. Families are being torn apart by ICE. The promise that only the worst of the worst hardened criminals will be deported was a lie. The vast majority of these folks are not criminals. They're our friends, co-workers, and neighbors. We now know that the people who are being disappeared by ICE are being captured and removed as part of a deliberate national policy to cleanse our country of immigrants, nearly all of whom are people of color. In Tacoma Park, kidnappings of immigrants by ICE are numerous. I think we're at 15 and counting in a relatively small city. It's ongoing and close to home. 2 were taken within a block of our house. In nearby Langley Park, it's far worse. And business owners throughout the county are losing their valued employees to ICE kidnappings or self-deportations. Families are being devastated. What can we do? Our state is pushing back, and this legislation put forward by Councilmember Mink and 6 co-sponsors can help. It aligns with and complements the Maryland Values Act and shows that we are not being silent, that we see our immigrant neighbors and they're standing with them. I see that the bill orders county government to provide, quote, template signage for businesses that choose to restrict ICE access in non-public areas, which is important. In addition to the signage template, will the county government provide guidance to business owners on how they might best protect their employees while at work? There's a ton of pertinent information out here that's been written about best practices for employers and employees during this relentless campaign to deport. It would be wonderful if some of this information can be curated and made available to the business community by the county government. We can also support the Unmasked Act. This is not normal. We can do better. I hope that the entire council will come on board and back these bills. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Next, Leslie Susan.
Good afternoon. I'm Leslie Susan. I've lived in Silver Spring, Maryland for more than 25 years. I'm a member of Bethesda Friends Meeting, another founding congregation of Action in Montgomery. I'm going to depart from my carefully written notes here in response to some of what I've heard as I've listened today. First of all, I really want to thank the council for bringing forward this bill. I think it's very important. I want to thank the council president in particular, who is my representative and for whom I've voted repeatedly. I know that you've supported the Trust Act. You've been a tremendous advocate for immigrants, and I'm confident that you will find your way clear ultimately to support this bill. And I know that not sponsoring does not mean not supporting. I want to say that I retired in 2022 after almost 40 years as an attorney and an administrative appeals judge at the U.S. Departments of Justice and Health and Human Services. I feel that this bill, which effectuates and expands on the State Values Act, represents underlying values, as does the State Act, that to me include building trust in a democratic government, insisting on the rule of law, and providing equal and fair treatment of all residents to access their government. These values were central to my decades of public service, and they are also necessary for any public agency to continue to be effective. I believe my county government should rely on these foundational values in enacting the proposed bill. I think the State Values Act was a good start, but in order to be effective on the ground, the county's action in this bill will give it implementation and effectiveness. County services are often both essential and very sensitive for residents, whether it's applying for county help, paying fines or license fees, reporting complaints, or testifying to our lawmakers, as I am doing. A county resident fearing improper action by ICE cannot safely access any county facility with only the limited state law protections in effect today. This is not a question only of fear by those who lack documents. I want to make really clear that ICE's abuses are not lawful, not constitutional, and impact many people who, in fact, either had valid documentation that's been arbitrarily rejected or who are even citizens. Please act to protect all of us. Thank you.
Appreciate that very much. Thank you. Next, we have Susanti Follingstad. Go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
It says 3.
I have here that you have for the 2 bills. You're only
Yes.
coming for 1?
No, I'm doing the full.
Okay, so it's 5 minutes.
My name is Susanti Follingstead, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Silver Spring Justice Coalition to offer favorable testimony in strong support of Bill 326, County Values Act, and Bill 526, the Unmasked ICE Act. This is crucial legislation to ensure all county residents feel safe, valued, and welcome in our communities while upholding civil and constitutional rights. SSJC works to reduce the harms of policing while empowering communities. Critical to this is ensuring residents feel safe going out into the community and not be at risk in encounters with local authorities, including law enforcement. Our immigrant community is under siege by the federal government. Places that used to bustle are empty and quiet because immigrants, and some who might be perceived as immigrants, are afraid to venture out for fear of chance encounters with federal officials or even local law enforcement. Immigrants are having food delivered by local mutual aid groups, getting others to take their children to school or keeping them home, setting up standby guardianship for their children in case the parents are detained or deported, and even afraid to answer their phones or open their door to anyone they do not know. Immigrants are getting detained when going to required government appointments and are subject to deportation to a safe third country, one they've never been to, even when they present a valid asylum claim based on harm if they are returned to their country of origin. And we've heard of many instances of those sent to these supposedly safe third countries then being returned to their country of origin. So immigrants are increasingly fearful of going to these required appointments, which unfortunately guarantees they are targeted and face deportation if found. And by the way, I know all this through my work with a different volunteer org in coordinating groups supporting immigrants, finding volunteers to go with immigrants to their appointments, helping overcome immigrants' reluctance to connect to volunteers even when they requested the accompaniment, and hearing the increasingly negative outcomes of appointments, including detentions and deportations. It is vital that the county minimize the daily risks immigrants face by protecting them from encounters with federal actions in every way possible, by ensuring community members feel safe, not threatened by their local government, by ensuring that county officials actions do not put them at added risk, and by not allowing law enforcement to hide behind face masks, which simply increases the terror of encounters and distrust of engaging with law enforcement. Such distrust leading immigrants to not report crimes or serve as witnesses, which puts us all at greater risk. Therefore, we strongly support both of these bills. The County Values Act, which prohibits access to non-public areas and county facilities without a valid judicial warrant, prohibits use of county lots for staging, processing, or operating immigration enforcement, and provides guidance to county departments on signage, training, procedures, and policies. And the Unmasked ICE Act, which prohibits law enforcement from using masks to hide behind, only allowing them when necessary for specified reasons related to maintaining health. Our county, where immigrants make up 30% of the population, knows firsthand the value of diverse communities and the vibrant social fabric that is woven when communities come together to learn, work, and care for one another. This legislation continues to uphold this truth and honor these immigrant communities. It's extremely necessary and much welcome during this time of uncertainty and increased ICE enforcement, and it aligns with the county being a welcoming jurisdiction for residents, regardless of their immigration status. You must stand firmly on the side of families, community trust, racial justice, and constitutional rights. By adopting these protections, you'll send a clear message that the county rejects the use of its resources to tear families apart, rejects having law enforcement officers, including ICE agents, terrorizing residents, and reaffirms our commitment to being a truly welcoming and safe place for all residents. SSJC adamantly urges a favorable report for both Bill 326, the County's Value Act, and Bill 526, the Unmasked ICE Act. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Allison Erickson.
Good afternoon. My name is Allison Erickson. I live in the city of Gaithersburg, one of the most diverse cities in the country, and in Councilmember Sidney Katz's district. I'm here today to speak in support of Bill 326, the County Values Act. I heard what was said earlier by the many young people that were here today, and I don't think I could say any of that better than they could, since they have much more direct experience. What I will say is that the county's decision on this bill demonstrates the values of this council. The tactics and the legality of our current immigration enforcement as it is being carried out are debatable. That will be decided in rooms much larger than this one. What is not up for debate is that our community is less safe when its residents are afraid to access the resources that the county provides and to which they are entitled. Many people have already discussed how these communities are less safe when they cannot access the police, when they can't access health services. So I'm not going to repeat all of that, but I do want to support that. Despite what members of the council may say, these communities and the rest of our county will see this council's decision as complicit in their actions if they if this bill is not supported. Actions will always speak louder than words. And in addition, county staff deserve to have the necessary guidance for how to respond to federal agents and these actions taking place. Otherwise, decisions of individual county staff become policy, and they're left to face the consequences of a hasty decision that they've made under pressure from law enforcement agents. That's not fair to those employees. Setting policy is the job of this council, not of individual county employees. I was a public servant myself, and I understand the pressures that can come with that, but they deserve to have guidance from this council in how to respond to these situations. Giving county employees the guidance and training that they need will represent our county and represent our values. Protecting the most vulnerable among us shows who we are and what we prioritize. Who will be your priority today? Thank you.
Thank you. The next person is virtual. You guys, thank you so much for coming today. We have Abby Janamanchi. Is this person on?
Good afternoon, Council President Fanny Gonzalez and members of the Council. It is really good to be with you and see you again. My name is Reverend Abhi Janamanchi. I use pronouns he and him, and I serve Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Bethesda, a member of Action in Montgomery and the Congregation Action Network. I am an immigrant and I am a Montgomery County resident, proud of both. I'm one of the last to testify, so I don't want to repeat what has already been said so powerfully in so many testimonials. I just want to name what it adds up to. You know, we heard a public defender earlier describe a survivor of domestic violence who was so afraid of immigration enforcement that she would not even provide her phone number. We heard some students and teachers describe schools as places where fear has started to live instead of learning. Children asking whether ICE can enter their classrooms, classmates disappearing, walkouts being organized because students do not feel safe. And we heard a young man describe masked agents kidnapping his father, and we heard about families avoiding services they desperately need because even asking for help feels dangerous. You see, fear does not stay contained. It seeps. It seeps into schools, it seeps into clinics, it seeps into courtrooms, into the moral atmosphere of our county. You know, in late January, I also traveled to Minneapolis with clergy colleagues and faith leaders to witness what happens when this becomes routine. As my colleague Kristen Schmidt shared, people there wake up and look out their windows not to check the weather, but to see whether another car has been left behind after someone was forcibly taken. That kind of vigilance changes people. It hardens. And I do not want Montgomery County to become that. Councilmember Jawando recently reminded us about the history of masks in our country that have often shielded the wearer from accountability and created terror through anonymity. See, masks are not neutral in our country. When armed agents move through neighborhoods with faces covered, families do not experience that as routine procedure. They experience it as menace and trauma. Every faith tradition I know teaches that human dignity is not conditional. It is inherent. And ethically, we are measured by how we treat the most vulnerable. Spiritually, we are shaped by whether fear or compassion defines our common life, and morally, we are responsible not only for what we do and what we say, but for what we normalize. So the question before you is simple. What kind of community are we willing to be when fear shows up at the door of our schools, our clinics, our libraries, our county buildings, and our houses of worship? Because a county cannot call itself welcoming if parents are afraid. If a mother is afraid to seek medical care, if a survivor is afraid to go to court, if a student is afraid to come to school, that is not welcome. That is a community shrinking from the inside. And these bills push back against that shrinking. They protect the trust that allows people to show up for life, and they draw clear boundaries so county spaces are not used to deepen fear. They affirm that when power operates in our neighborhoods, it must be visible and accountable. And yes, I will say it, ICE out of our county not because a county law ends a federal agency, though I pray that it would, but because we refuse to normalize intimidation on our public ground, because children deserve to grow up believing they belong here, because dignity is not negotiable. You have heard the harm when fear becomes routine. Now you have the opportunity to choose a different path. So please pass the County Values Act and the Unmasked ICE Act, and let it be clear that Montgomery County chooses trust over terror, transparency over anonymity, and dignity over fear. Thank you.
Thank you. That was our last speaker, so this public hearing is now closed. We're going to move on to agenda item 10. It's a public hearing on Bill 5-26, Police Mask or Facing Coverings Prohibited, the Unmasked ICE Act. This bill will prohibit federal, state, or local law enforcement agencies from wearing masks or facial coverings while on duty in the county, and generally amend the law regarding policing and public safety in the county. A Public Safety Committee work session will be scheduled for a later date. Those wishing to submit material for the Council's consideration should do so by the close of business on March 12, 2026. As a reminder of our public hearing testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you are testifying and are appropriate for a public meeting. You will hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate everyone abiding by their allotted time. I'm going to ask the first group to come forward. We have Lily Madigan, Jordi Diaz, Ruth Noel, Fatmata Berry, J.D. Kumar, Leslie Diaz. And each person has 3 minutes. And we will start with Lily Madigan. Is Lily here? She's not? Okay, Lily is not here. Okay. So what about Jordi Diaz? Okay, sir, can you please turn around? Go ahead. I have the same shirt, by the way. Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Jordi Diaz, and I am a resident of District 1. I am here in support of the Unmasked ICE Act. I thank the 6 sponsors of this bill. My message today is for the members who have refused to co-sponsor it, specifically my representative, Councilmember Friedson. On January 20th, I emailed and called your office asking why you had not co-sponsored this bill. I still have not heard why. I tried to have this conversation privately, and I'll bring it to the public record because my community, the immigrant community, cannot afford to wait. We are witnessing a nightmare. Federal thugs are operating with total impunity in our neighborhoods, stopping and attacking men, women, and children simply for looking black or brown. As of Sunday, a fleet of ICE vehicles arrived at the new detention site in Hagerstown. The threat is parked an hour away. I read the staff report. Your economic impact statement warns the federal administration might not comply with the mask ban. Using that as an excuse to stall is a failure of leadership. If the federal government defies the law, we keep fighting back. Since the bill includes an explicit exception for SWAT and medical emergencies, officer safety cannot be used as an excuse. Some of you believe that passing this bill will make things worse. You think if we keep our heads down, we could fly under the radar. But let us look at the reality of the situation. If ICE agents are willing to shoot white men and women in broad daylight, what do you think is happening to those who are undocumented and have no visibility? The keep our heads down strategy is a lie. History teaches us that appeasement does not curb cruelty, it feeds it. In 1850, northern states passed the Fugitive Slave Act, believing compromise would preserve peace. That compromise turned free states into hunting grounds. It allowed federal agents to kidnap black men and women from their homes and shackle them in the name of law and order. Stopping this bill invites that same terror. In 2024, I warned the state legislature not to give the federal government tools to target vulnerable populations. Many arrogantly believe a convicted felon could never become president again. Now we are trapped between a regime that abuses human rights and a Democratic Party that is too slow to react. leaving families like mine with no one to turn to while local leaders calculate their political risks. Delaying your support does not protect us. It gives the oppressor the tool they need to terrorize us without consequence. Anonymity breeds impunity. The time for political calculation is over. I am asking you to use your power to do exactly what you promised to do. Protect this community and vote yes on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Ruth Noel. Can you please turn on your mic? Thank you.
Thank you, President Fanny Gonzalez and members of the council. My name is Ruth Noel. I'm a resident of Montgomery County for over 43 years, raising 3 children who went through our public schools. I strongly support the Unmasked ICE bill, as I also do the Bill 326, the Values Act. I am a member of a support group here in the county for migrants who are suffering under ICE at this time, as well as Presbyterians for Police Transportation, a ministry of Tacoma Park Presbyterian Church. But I am here today as an individual. As a follower of the nonviolent Jesus, I am appalled by what is illegally being done to immigrant friends and neighbors in our names. We, as a county, pride ourselves and are widely known for our diversity. We celebrate how the 30% of community who are migrants add to the vibrancy of our community through sharing their culture, food, talents, labor, and entrepreneurship. It is unimportant if the county has the legal authority to require ICE agents from stopping wearing masks, or to arrest them. We'll deal with that if and when it comes. I do know it is imperative and our moral responsibility to do all in our power to ensure that we know who is breaking our laws and to hold them accountable. This bill codifies our current police policy of not wearing masks except under very limited circumstances. At a minimum, it will allow all of us, and especially our immigrant friends, know that it is an immigrant official and not our local police, perhaps giving them time to move to a safe place. We as a county must stand firmly with our families and ensuring their constitutional right and do the hard work of building community trust and working towards racial justice. By adopting these protections, we are reaffirming and living our commitment to be a welcoming and safe place for all our residents. I urge you to quickly and unanimously pass Bill 526, the Unmasked ICE Act, as well as Bill 326, the Values Act, making them effective immediately upon signing. Thank you for the opportunity to address you.
Thank you. Next, we have Amara Berry. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Fatmata Berry. I am an immigration attorney, a longtime Montgomery County resident, and I'm also an immigrant. I am here in strong support of Bill 5-26, the Unmasked ICE Act, with one straightforward amendment, that ICE and CBP officers operating in Montgomery County be required to present official law enforcement identification upon request when interacting with the public. Maryland law already requires officers at the start of a stop to identify themselves and provide their name, ID number, agency, and reason for the stop. That is not controversial. That is basic transparency. The bill is about ensuring residents can clearly identify law enforcement, maintain public trust, and safety for the public. Our neighbors are disappearing. Families do not always know where their loved ones are being taken. In many cases, there are no cameras, no immediate answers. As an attorney, I have had parents call me asking whether they should send their children to school. School attendance has been impacted. Children are living in fear. That is not normal. When individuals show up in tactical gear, sometimes masked, even with patches or markings, that is not the same as presenting official government-issued identification. If someone is exercising the extraordinary power to detain or remove a person from our community, they should be required upon request to show official law enforcement ID. This protects immigrants, U.S. citizens, and legitimate officers. And frankly, it may cause rogue actors to think twice before impersonating law enforcement. Although I was not able to sign up to testify on the County Values Act, because, as you saw here today, residents signed up in droves. I am in full support of that legislation as well. The community response tells you everything you need to know. These are common sense measures: transparency, identification, accountability. Public tax-funded county property should not be used to intimidate or abuse the very public that funds it. If government power is legitimate, it should never be afraid to identify itself. Thank you to Council members Jawando and Mink, and to those who have signed on to both bills. I pray both bills pass unanimously and show that we are united in protections of our residents. I respectfully urge you to pass this bill with the amendment as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Leslie Diaz here? Okay. Mr. Kumar, you're next. You have 3 minutes.
Montgomery County, Maryland Government Council, and you, ma'am, the esteemed Honorable Council President, Ms. Natalie Fanny Gonzalez. My name is James Dhruva Kumar. I filed for candidacy to be your U.S. Congress rep for this Maryland District 8 as J.D. Kumar. Thank you. I mentioned during the recent Trust Act hearing in January 2026 that I'm a fan of yours, and congratulations again for all your achievements. You have smoothly assimilated into this new leadership role. We need more people like you, nice, kind, fun, happy, and super smart. However, please start serving all your constituents also. All the council focus is for those from Latin America, Central America, illegals, undocumented background, and only many who are problem, callous groups, some who belong to gangs, traditional or no, new, so cute, well-spoken facades. I will call them PCG for future reference. Nobody owns all the narrative. Callous also has physical meaning. Tough work, sometimes in tough conditions, callous hand by callous hand. Regarding all these related bills, Trust Act 3525, Economic Impact 1-26, Minimum Wage Data Collection 3-26, County Values Act, and 5-26, Unmasked ICE Act, I support all of them, but there is no mention and also emphasis of protecting legally arrived minority citizens and other residents, seniors, colonial Americans, African American black folk, asylum and refugee peoples. No mention, no emphasis on this. You have to include respect for law enforcement, also adhere to their legal enforcement instructions, and cooperate as necessary. The huge fear is that non-law enforcement criminals will abuse good people and vulnerable peoples by hiding behind their masks. So I support this 5-26 bill. However, we can do all this without compromising good law enforcement officials who work so hard to protect our public safety under duress, very difficult and dangerous situations. How? They're also potentially exposed to PCG gangs. Please include all this in your evaluation for all this. Now, I repeat that I've coined the term EIMC, Established Immigrant Merit Communities. Let's no longer differentiate between legal and illegal undocumented immigrants that have achieved EIMC status. I don't have time, so let me just skip a bunch of this. We must have a cohesive, nurturing, happy, cohesive, nurturing, happy, encourage all to thrive safe, not living in fear community here and beyond. I urge you to issue EIMC credentials, vet those who live and work amongst us, call this EIMC safety card. As of January 20, 2025, we must enforce our immigration laws 100%, 1,000%. Now, if I go to Congress, I'll get fast-track permanent residency for those EIMC here more than 10 years, citizenship for those.
Thank you, Mr.
Non-criminal
Kumar.
here more
Your
than
time
15
is
years.
up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. The last person is virtual, Anna Winthrop.
Hello.
We hear you.
I hope you can hear me. My name is Anna Winthrop. I am a resident of Silver Spring. I want to thank the council and everyone who has testified here today because so much has been said. I'm here to testify in support of the Unmasked ICE Act, although I also support the County Values Act. I'm just going to share a quick story. I recently spoke with a young woman who lives in Montgomery County and who attends Bowie State in PG County. And she's Latina, like many of her friends. And she told me a story about how last year at a school event, ICE showed up and chaos ensued and they were terrified only to find out later that it wasn't really ICE. It was men who were wearing masks and had a vest that said ICE, but they were just impersonators. And indeed, we have seen across the country many incidences of kidnapping or assault at the hands of people who are impersonating ICE officers. And I thought to myself, what kind of advice do you give a young person? When I was growing up, I was told, if you're being kidnapped, you have to resist, you have to fight back, you have to try to get help. But we are living in a moment where the behavior of federal agents and kidnappers and predators are indistinguishable. And I want people to think for a moment what that really means. How can we expect anyone to trust the government, let alone law enforcement, under these circumstances, when we have federal agencies who are acting above the law, who are abusing their power, who are causing families to live in fear? And I think that the answer is to start, first of all, by passing the Unmask ICE Act. It's just one small step, but it is the most basic step to let people know that you are in support. You support the safety and the dignity of the residents in our county above the comfort of federal agents that are acting above the law. And so I would urge everyone on this council to hopefully unanimously pass this bill. It is just a first step, but it is the first step towards transparency, towards accountability, and we need every tool in our toolbox right now to be used as we are under an assault from our federal government, and ICE has been weaponized. So I want to thank you all, and I know I'm out of time, so thank you.
That was great. Thank you so much for your time. This public hearing is now closed, and we are adjourned. Thank you for coming, everyone.